So let me ask y'all a question then. What's the point of getting married? What's the purpose of marriage?
Well, like I said earlier, it's supposed to be purpose driven. So you know, you're supposed to be able to fall underneath of that purpose that the man has. You have to be equally yoked in that way. If not, it's not going to work. You're going to be finding yourself divorced in 5 to 10 years.
But you
Yeah,
have
but
to be
what's the hold on.
It's
Hold on.
duty.
What's the purpose of marriage in general? Like, why get married?
Wealth.
oh, that's
in my
the
opinion.
legacy. So
It's a
Is
contract.
it's the legacy?
It's a contract.
Right.
It's a
So-
business transaction in a way as well. Like you said, people get married because it business to business. It makes sense in whatever it is for that couple. It is for that couple. But I just think that it's a contract. Some people, if they're spiritual or religious, it's a contract with God under the guise of God. But it's definitely a union of a contractual union. Financially, it makes sense to be married. Nobody really wants to die alone. Nobody wants to pay their bills on their own. You know, there's so many different facets of why there's marriage, but ultimately it's contractual.
Do everybody agree with that?
I don't. It is a contract, but that wasn't an answer to the question. Purpose of a marriage, and you know, we talk about every marriage is different, but there's a certain amount of legacy that goes down to the kids and the last name. So your grandkids and your great grandkids can like be supported and have a direction. Like in my opinion,
kids
focusing on who you actually are. You're leading the family, and once you lead the family in a certain direction, that direction can actually feed your grandkids and your great grandkids if you do it right. Because once you die, because I love to be able to say, like, if it happens that my children and my great grandchildren, my great great grandchildren are protected because of what I've built for them. So
well, okay, so let's line it out though, then, Mr. Let Go.
So
you can do that. Wait. You can do that with a trust. You can do that with legal documents. You can do that with a lot of things. What's the point of getting married?
My kids are already made. So you're saying, what's the purpose of the marriage? In my opinion, what's the purpose get married and have children and then do that?
Marriage is supposed to protect women and like get them off the street so they won't be out there messing with a whole bunch of dudes all day. So it's like leadership style, obviously, because you got a husband. But if you keep women unmarried, then that's when they're attracting bodies. So
from your perspective, Lady Di, you're saying that marriage is for the protection of women.
That's what part of it.
And I agree with that. Get these women off the street. I agree with that.
Anybody else?
What if you're not having children? So if he's saying that,
let me hold on. Well, let me back up for a minute, because again, we having a conversation based off of marriage. Mm-hmm. And in order for us to really have a conversation based off of marriage, I need to understand what the purpose is of why y'all trying to get married, right? From a man's perspective and from a woman's perspective. And I don't want people to just do it for the sake of doing it because everybody else is doing it or because somebody else told them that's what they're supposed to do. I'm trying to understand what the purpose is of y'all getting married. Is it something? Go ahead, Lucky. I'm sorry.
Based on my upbringing, I always was told marriage is a biblical thing. So it's supposed to be the offspring and the representation of God. So it's a godly union, whether you believe it or not. So just to kind of answer the question, but also the end goal usually in marriage is wealth, because they understood that the way to get to wealth and pass it down, like Mr. Lego is saying, through the way of marriage. That's why single motherhood and single parenthood is always shamed, because the statistics shows that a child is more likely to be in poverty if they're raised in one parent household. So the what I was told is the purpose of marriage is about the union of God, but also it's not about love, it's about wealth. Purpose.
So Lucky, based off of what you're saying now, right? If that be true, and if marriage is rooted in biblical principles, then why do people that don't even align with the church or believe in God are looking to get married?
I ask that question all the time. I honestly don't know.
And
I mean, because there's ways you can get married without the Bible. So you can't get contracts and things done. So it could be a little bit of ignorance. People may just feel like, oh, let me just read these vows. But I personally do not play with marriage. So I get people saying, oh, you should be married. But no, unless you're going to take your vows seriously and take that oath, I don't think you should get married, period, personally.
Well, the reason that I asked this question is because it's very difficult for us to have a conversation based off of marriage if everybody has a different premise by which they're operating as far as what marriage means to them. Some people, in my opinion, probably don't even have a premise and they've never really thought about it in depth, which makes it much easier for people to break their vows and not even stay married and easily get divorced. Because why should they take something serious that they truly don't even understand or they didn't even do a deep dive into, right? And so even for us to even have this conversation, I don't know if everybody is on the same page as far as what the objective is behind getting married or aligning yourself with somebody for the rest of your life as far as getting into a contract. And, you know, Lucky said that I thought was interesting. She said it's rooted in biblical principles and it's a godly contract. Lady Di said it was for the protection of women. Mr. Let Go said it's so that you can pass down your legacy. Lady Chan is saying it's a combination of all of it. Real Precious is saying that it's to make sure that you can continue to align yourself with somebody and so that you can build up, right? And everybody is saying something completely different based off of my understanding. Bruiser is saying that marriage is so that a woman can get with a man and get on this program so that they can build together, right? And so everybody is in a whole nother space.
I didn't answer the reason though.
Well, I'm going about based off of your answer.
Oh, okay.
Prior to me answering the question, right? Because I'm just trying to gain context and I'm just summarizing, so I may be off, right? But in a general sense, everybody is on a completely different wavelength, and I just don't think that people even understand what the premise or the basis behind what marriage means in the first place is.
So what's your
I think
definition?
everything we said all was kind of like congruent with each other.
What's your definition of it then?
What is my definition of marriage?
Was somewhat congruent with each other, though, Anton.
Hold on, let go. Go ahead, let go.
I couldn't hear her because she was going in and out. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Say it again.
What's your definition of or the reason that people should get married, or you just give? I would like to hear your take.
Well, my purpose, or what I think that marriage means specifically, is I think that Lucky more or less is more closely aligned with it. I think that it's a biblical thing that's based in spirituality. I think that it's a covenant between God and man, because God often associates himself with Mary and the church. And he often says that, even if you go into the New Testament and he's saying that, love yourself and then love thy neighbor as thyself and stuff like that. I think that it's a covenant between man and God, but it's also a promise to cherish what it is that's under your covering as a man specifically. As a result, he's given us rules and ways in which we're supposed to operate within a marriage. And he's even labeled it specifically in the different tasks that women are supposed to do as far as how is she supposed to operate as a helpmeet, how you're supposed to raise children. And then every other rule in the Bible or every other principle in the Bible is based off of things surrounding that, right? You're not supposed to be, covet after another man's wife, adultery, fornication. All of those things are contrary to how it is that he's setting the premise as far as how it is that you're supposed to be operating within marriage, which is also a representation of your covenant with him, right? And then you'll be blessed as you continue to move a certain type of way.